If you've come to Flutter and Dart by way of other languages, you may have noticed that Dart asks you to write a fair amount of boilerplate for simple classes. Sometimes, you just want a class that accepts its values in a constructor, offers a helpful toString override, implements value equality, a copy-with method, so objects can stay immutable, and so on. Suddenly, covering all of these basic features has made your class anything but simple. Thankfully, code generation packages like Freezed can save you from writing hundreds of lines of error-prone boilerplate. To use Freezed, add it as a dev dependency in your pubspec.yaml file, and add Freezed annotation as a normal dependency. You will also need BuildRunner as a dev dependency and JSON serializable if you want toJSON and fromJSON methods. And now you're ready to start. First, decorate a class with the Freezed annotation. Then, specify a superclass that it mixes in. And don't sweat that the linter doesn't know what you're talking about. Freezed will generate that shortly. Next, start on your constructor. Use a const factory constructor and point it to a class with the same name, prefixed with an underscore. Again, that class doesn't exist yet, so don't pay the linter too much mind. Next, in that constructor, specify any fields that your data class will need. Note that you don't use the normal this.fieldName syntax, because Freezed will generate that part. Use the default decorator to assign default values. And once you've defined all your fields, tell Freezed that you want toJSON and fromJSON methods by adding a fromJSON constructor. Just like before, it points to a class that doesn't exist yet. Return to the top of your file and add these two part declarations, so Dart considers all three files one big happy file. And finally, run the magic BuildRunner command to actually generate all the missing pieces. And that's it! Freezed generated a veritable ocean of tedious boilerplate for you, allowing you to get back to the interesting parts of your app. And if, in the future, you need to add more fields, add them as parameters in that first constructor, rerun the build command, and get back to the fun stuff. There's so much more you can do with Freezed, so be sure to think about how it can make your code more maintainable. For more
Have you ever wondered how Flutter knows when users tap somewhere in your UI? Maybe because you need a certain region to be clickable, but it's not exactly a button? Gesture Detector lets you track all sorts of user interactions. To start, wrap a portion of your UI in a gesture detector and start thinking about what interactions you expect. Gesture Detector takes an enormous amount of callbacks to cover everything your users might do, but you don't have to define them all or even know them all. To recreate button-like behavior, add a callback for onTap. And if you're wondering, hey, will this help my web and desktop users clicking with a mouse? Then rest easy. Gesture Detector knows what you mean. OnTap is ready to capture clicks or taps. But there's so much more you can do with Gesture Detector. For example, place your Gesture Detector wrapped widget within a stack's positioned widget. Then use onPanUpdate to make your own draggable. Gesture Detector is extremely flexible. It can watch clicks, double clicks, long clicks, swipes, drags, and even pinches or zooms. So next time you need something interactable and a stock button won't do, reach for Gesture Detector. If a picture's worth 1,000 words, then some great images in your app are well worth the cost to download them. But if you're not careful, your users will pay that cost every time they launch your app. To avoid this, use cached network image. To start, find an image.network widget in your app that you're tired of downloading again and again and again, and convert it into a cached network image. And that's it. Now your Flutter app will download that image one more time and then hang on to it for future use. Okay, well, maybe that's not everything. Cached network image has a lot of customization options. Use the placeholder parameter to control what shows while the image is downloading. Alternatively, give updates with the progress indicator builder parameter. There are a lot of other parameters to play with until you get just the right behavior. However, you may be wondering, what if I'm trying to cache a box decorations image property? That network image object is not a widget, but instead an image provider. So you won't be able to put a cached network image in its place. Luckily, there's Cached Network Image Provider for just this purpose. So next time you want to swap out 1,000 words for one picture without wasting your user's data, reach for Cached Network Image.